back on the 954. Bank holiday Sunday. New set of BT016s. MOT done. Let's have a nice little ride. So the 954 or the Honda CBR 954 RR Fireblade 2003 to be precise. So if you've not watched any of my videos before, you know that you don't know that I was knocked off of my Honda VTR 1000 V-twin SP1 RC51. I do like these bikes with the long names, don't I? Anyway, so that was 3 weeks ago today. That was Easter Sunday. So that's now laid up. The plan was to ride that all summer and leave this just having a nice little rest after all the motorway miles it did last year. The tyres that weren't squared off. I only had a cheap set of Avons on it, but yeah, the plan wasn't to put this on the road until the accident. I've got a hire bike, but it's a GSX-S Suzuki 1000 and it's boring as hell. Obviously I've got the Fireblade meet coming up. And I've also got the RC meet coming up in just a couple of weeks, so I can't take my RC, but the very least I can do is take the Fireblade. So it's a case of grabbing a set of BT016 Bridgestones, a tyre I've not yet used myself on the 954, but came highly recommended by quite a few people, so I thought I'd give that a bit of a chance. Whack them on. Bike went through the MOT, no advisories. We're sitting at 29,000 miles now, and the bike is just faultless. Anyone who's rode one of these is just, they're so nimble. I think we're looking at 168 kilos. I think I'm right in that, and if I'm wrong, I'll put it right here. And I think we're looking at about 159 brake horsepower. Again, if I'm wrong, I'll put that here. But in terms of a 20-year-old bike, its power to weight ratio is brilliant, and it just feels like you're riding a 600. I mean, the majority of 600s are heavier than this. So well balanced. It is like the culmination of 20 years of Tadeo Baba, who invented or come up with the idea of the Fireblade, a nice light limble bike with a big engine. Not 1,000 or 1,100cc, but a 900 to keep that weight down in basically a 600 frame. I think the original frame idea was for the CBR 750, so just give it that extra bit of punch, lightened everything, and we all know that the Fireblade from 1992 became a legendary bike, and this was the last bike that Tadeo Baba worked on for Honda. Power is endless. The difference between riding this and an SP1 is it's just everywhere, all throughout the rev range. Sit comfortably in 5th or 6th, give it a bit of throttle, and it hasn't got a problem at all. Now me personally, and I'm going to be totally honest, even though I'm sitting on this now and probably tempting fate by doing so, I prefer to ride the SP1. It's just it's an event, if that makes any sense. You know, someone said, obviously I had a nice little run-in with a Testarossa a few weeks back on the SP1, and the comments were, oh, you know, that car's so old, most modern hatchbacks will keep up with it. Most modern hatchbacks might keep up with it, but most modern hatchbacks are not a Testarossa. This is quicker, it's lighter, it's easier to ride, I think. It's more user friendly. It's more complimentary to the rider, I think, make you feel like you're a god. But it's not an SP1. It's not a bad secondary bike to have on hand. So touch wood, since owning this CBR 954, I got it right just before COVID, February of 2020 it was. I remember having a conversation with the guy and his dad when I bought it, thinking that COVID was a big overestimation. There you go, 6th gear, wind it on. Even with the A16 pipe at the back there, it's not as obnoxious. It doesn't scare as many children as the SP1. So yeah, in the 3 and a bit years I've had it, a couple of sets of tyres I've gone through, mainly because I've destroyed them on motorways. Going up and down to Donington, Silverstone, and Donington again, and then Solihull, and up to Owens to borrow one of his bikes, and you know, the motorway miles on this were ludicrous. It's a 20-year-old bike, so there's no modern gizmos to it, no gear indicator. I've jumped off that GSX, which is got a gear indicator, which is just the norm now for anything, well, under 10 years, 15 years old. There's no fuel gauge. There's a light that's going to come on when you need to panic, but then you just sort of work it out. Fill the tank up, done 16 miles, I expect to get about 120 out of it. Once I get to about the 90, 100 limit, I'll start thinking about when to refill. The clocks are simple, small. I like the fact there's a clock there, don't get me wrong. It's a sports bike and people might be thinking, oh, what do you need a clock for? Just enjoy yourself. It's nice to have a clock. Sunday afternoon, Mrs. has got things that she wants me to do around the house. Have a nice little poodle out. It's just got just a cheap steering damper on it. I've never ridden it without it, and I wouldn't, just because it's that rake to me, 23.5 degrees of rake. That might be gobbledygook to a lot of people, but when you're looking at something like a VFR 800 750, you're looking at about 25 degrees of rake, because it's offering you that stability. You're not going to get that stability from the front wheel of this. It does like to lift the front wheel in first gear, and it will surprise you sometimes. Off the power, I mean, without touching the clutch. So I've always had a steering damper. I've had a few wobbles on it, and I'm glad the steering damper's there, because it probably would have been a lot worse. I have it set to almost non-existent, basically. But I know that if there's ever any horrifying shakes of the head, that steering damper is going to take control of it, and it may have already done exactly that without me knowing, which is the point of it, isn't it, really? So I've had this since about 22,000 miles, so I've put 7 or so thousand miles on it in 3 years. Not a lot, I know. I probably put 3,000, maybe 3,500 on it last summer. And you kind of think, having rode the SP1 for the last few months, well, last month, you kind of think, hey, 954, you know, it's quite boring. It's not, it's anything but boring, it's ridiculous. It's going to get you in a lot of trouble if you let it. like I say, just sit up in 6th gear, 40 mile an hour now, it's happy. Sitting at 2,500 revs, it's not moaning at me, it's not ready to splutter and give up. Doesn't sound like it's hurting anyway. And you can just poodle along and enjoy. Or drop it down a couple of gears and put it back into hooligan mode for a little while. I think you can probably pick one of these up now for around a £3,000 range, which is just a ridiculous bargain if I'm honest. If you look at some of the early blades, they go for that sort of money. This is the red and black from the 2003, obviously before, no sorry, this is the black and red. The year before was the red and black. You might think, what the hell's the difference? But if you saw the two together, you'd know. The blue are lovely in the 2003. It's absolutely gorgeous, deep blue. Not a big fan of the yellow, if I'm totally honest. If you look at the American market, if you're in America, there's a lovely black and sort of titanium colour set, which is just gorgeous. And they'll always hold their money. That's the good thing with these. I'll run out on the blade, get those tyres worked in. Nice sunny Sunday, bank holiday. Feels good to be back on such a familiar bike. It's going to be putting some miles on it over the next couple of weeks. 19th of May up into Donington. Celebrate all the RC bikes, Honda made, RC30, RC45, RC40, RC51. Got the insurance assessor coming this week to come and have a look at the SP1 to see just how bad the damage is. And of course in under 4 weeks time now, the Honda Fireblade anniversary meet would have been. Looking like some good numbers, look like we've got around 100 Fireblades so far. Those BT 016s give me quite a bit of confidence considering they're brand new. Be a shame to square them off on the motorway, but I must admit I'm liking the feedback I'm getting from them. This is where the blade really sort of comes into its own. Roundabouts, nice bit of quick roads, get it over, bang the throttle, and then realise you've got to behave yourself. Here we go. Late on the brakes, dip it right down, front end comes right down, flip, lovely. throttle wide open and just keep the smile going. Like I say, you end up in a lot of trouble on one of these. This has got to be one of Honda's greatest creations, this. I know there's a lot more modern bikes with a lot more modern trickery on it. Give me a nice light bike with a decent engine any day of the week. Bit of sideways action there. Thinking I'm Jack Miller. So in summary, the 954, light, powerful, reliable, great handling, good brakes, cheap. What else can you want really? Got stopped at Box Hill by a guy saying I'm really thinking about buying one, and I'll say the same as I said to him. I can highly recommend it. Anyone who knows sold a 954 has always said, I regret letting that one go. So stay tuned, subscribe, like and share my videos please guys. I'm not looking to make a millionaire out of this, but just something that's worthwhile me doing. I enjoy it. I hope you enjoy my videos. I hope you enjoy the events, and you're all welcome to come along. It'd be great to see as many bikes together in the summer as possible, every event. And thank you for watching. Be back soon.